Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Between Numbers podcast. We are finally into the off season, and I only hear there's only 29 more Sundays until NFL football is back, or the regular season is. So, I mean, we've already made it through one Sunday. We can do it through another 29. But this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about the head coaches that have been hired, what their potentials are. Um, Also, maybe go into a little bit about the new coordinators being hired, maybe some of the GMs. Talk about what we think they're going to do and how if they're going to be successful or not. Because some of these hirings are pretty decent. Some of these hirings, no idea to be honest. Um, that's the great quality you get on our podcast.
Yeah, kid. We whatever we say, we are predicting the future. So we're predicting events that we don't know what could happen. So
Yeah, that's what's going on here. Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Anyway, so is
like
there a certain head coaching job you want to get into straight away?
should we start with the most recent appointed one, which was Kyle Shanahan at the San Francisco
Hmm.
49ers.
Yeah.
Obviously, the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, and they've also hired a new GM, John Lynch. And it's interesting. I mean, how successful Kyle Shanahan's going to be because his offense was pretty amazing in Atlanta, but
Hmm.
he had the likes of Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Devonta Freeman, and in San Francisco he has a pretty terrible quarterback situation, a very talentless roster, and a fan base that is kind of itching for success and seems pretty fed up with the ownership. So that's a good old perfect storm to be run out of town in like 3 years, I think.
Yeah, I mean this is one where it's the potential of the team isn't that great, and I think for all these like head coaching things, it really depends on whether or not um, the owner like gives them time for it, because that's really what these coaches need. Because you can't if you get given time, then you can actually implement your system if you have one. Yeah, we've got to remember this is Carl Shanahan's first head coaching job. He's never ever been a head coach before. Only been offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, and then a graduate assistant at UCLA. But yeah, it's interesting to see how he's gonna try and change up that roster. And it's interesting, an offensive coordinator being given the post of um, a new head coach, because it seems that a lot of these signings recently have been defense based.
Yeah, people because I mean defense kind of I think what people are more happy to have is kind of a delegating role where you have maybe a guy who's more defensive minded as head coach or has a better oversight of the whole roster and kind of see things from a general perspective and hire like a good offensive guru or something
Mm.
who could do the whole thing, kind of what the Falcons did, where they had Dan Quinn who kind of had the defensive background, very good at overseeing the whole operation, and they brought in this kind of offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan to put that together.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's definitely going to need some help on the defense side of the ball because, as we know, the 49ers, I think, Macy on both sides of the ball, the 49ers are having a bit of struggles recently. Not gonna, and it's like they don't really have a quarterback yet right now. They're not really sure what's going on there. It'd be interesting to see what Kyle Shanahan does, um, and what the 49ers do as a franchise moving forward because yeah, they're definitely a team who's used to winning, and they haven't been doing it for the past 3 years.
They've also had three coaches in the last 3 years, so I think Kyle Shanahan will be given an element of time because I think just
You'd hope
purely
so because
the
like
the owner wants to embarrass himself by firing another head coach.
yeah, you'd hope so because you really want like as we said earlier, you want time to be given to these coaches so they can actually like develop and implement their system. It doesn't even matter if it's after a couple of days. I mean, after a couple of years because it's not really if it's a new system. Everyone's going to get uh, acclimated to it. So everyone needs to come up onto the same level. And like for some coaches, that just doesn't happen straight away, which is unfortunately really bad in the NFL. Because if you don't do something straight away, you could be your head's on the chopping blocks, and
Yeah,
that's just the way it is there.
Yeah, it's definitely that it's becoming more and more in every year that coaches are given less time because of just the pressure of wanting to win. I mean, it's something that I think a lot of fans, especially probably in America, who aren't really used to, but I'd say we're probably fairly used to that. Considering our comparison with the Premier League, where coaches and like managers are sacked every couple months.
Hmm. Yeah, so if you don't have results, then you're gone. Um,
Yeah,
it's difficult. Like for the past I can't remember like the past decade, like the average time for a manager is going down, down, down.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. We'll see how these guys everyone fares on. So what do you think of Carl
Well,
Shanahan's like prospects there?
um, I I genuinely don't know because I would want to say I'm optimistic because if he's given time, I'd be optimistic. If
Hmm.
Jed York is impatient again, then maybe less so. And I also think how Carl Shanahan's character is going to be, kind of reflect there because I know he is someone who can rub people the wrong way. I know that he did have some friction with Matt Ryan in the first season in Atlanta, so he does. He's not easy to get along with. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of develops, where he now has to build relationships in the whole team, whether things kind of come crashing down. But I think either way, it's going to be intriguing to watch how this plays out, just because it's Kyle Shanahan as well. He's got the name Shanahan. Like obviously, his dad, Mike Shanahan, was a great coach in the NFL. So a lot of interesting storylines there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's tough. It's gonna be tough for him. Obviously, the 49ers job is not easy right now, but it's a very difficult one for him to come into his first head coaching opportunity. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be asking his dad loads of stuff, and he gets loads of insight from him about what it's going to be. So, I mean, if anyone's going to turn around that offense in San Francisco, I mean, people thought it'd be Chip Kelly, but Kyle Shanahan's like pretty decent next up option, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think in terms of if you can get the pieces on offense, I think you're going to be pretty pretty well
Sorted
prepared
for it,
for the
yeah.
season. Yeah.
All right, should we move on?
Um,
Let's move on. So, the team I want to go into next is maybe one of the teams with the like biggest upside. It's not the Broncos yet, but with Jacksonville Jaguars. So they got rid of Gus Bradley after he got them off to like the 2-12 start. Um, and overall he went 14-48 with the Jaguars. And that's not head coaching numbers. That's not numbers that any team wants at all. Um, but it's interesting this one. This is another offensive-minded call. Doug Marone was part of the team, and he was the assistant head coach there. So, kind of like the next, man up, really there in Jacksonville.
yeah,
But I'm not too sure about this one because it could be like because he's the next man up, you could just get rid of him, kind of if something better comes the way down the road, or I'm not too sure.
I think also you also have to look at the bigger picture here. The other move that the Jags also made was bring in Tom Coughlin as an executive,
Hmm.
and I think Coughlin also has the final say on the roster. And I think Doug Marone might even just be a placeholder that if they might have a situation like the Titans had where they strike lucky with their interim coach, like the Titans with Mike Mularkey, and they had a great season. They almost went to the playoffs. I mean, the Jags would be really happy if Doug Marone could be that, but if he's bad, he'll sack him and bring in his own coach that he wanted to hire originally. So,
Hmm.
um, kind of it gives the Jags a bit of leeway, but I think in terms of an upside, this team has got a lot of potential. I think if Blake Bortles can sort his mechanics out and kind of find that form that he had at the back end of the 2014 season, I'd be very optimistic about having him as a quarterback. Obviously, they've got all those weapons on offense. They've got some big talent on defense, and their defense was actually not that bad down the stretch last season. I think they're in the top five for points conceded. So they're definitely they've got a good group there on defense. It's just sorting out the quarterback and kind of also closing out close games as well. I think would be a big thing for them.
Hmm. I should for Maroon side. I think people expected like a bigger name in
Yeah,
Jacksonville. Like someone like, well, I mean, if Tom Coughlin would come back, people thought he would come back as head coach because obviously being at the Jags before and like rebuilding that roster and getting them to the playoffs. And then obviously Tom Coughlin is the man who brought back who brought two Super Bowls to the Giants. Um, so there you got the like all the experience and everything. So I think it's kind of like for Doug Marone, this is like a really good and a really bad thing at the same time because I think he could be kind of like like out called like he'll think I think this should happen. Tom Coughlin think like disagrees, and then like who would you go with? Like if you have those two in disagreement, I think it's a I mean, I'd be more inclined to go with Tom Coughlin because I'm like, well, you definitely know what you're talking about, and I know that. But also, this is time for him
yeah.
to.
I think
This
that's well. They,
this is time for him to like understand learn everything from Tom Coughlin and just see what everything's going on because it's going to be difficult for him to for them all to like well, maybe it's difficult for him anyway because it's the Jags because they're a good talented team but they don't have the drive yet. If he's like a motivator, then that's great and it works well. But
I mean, it's interesting as well. Doug Marone is someone who has been a head coach before. He was a head coach in Buffalo for 2 years, and he went 6-10 and 9-7. So he's not like pedigree material. It's not like they've got out and got the biggest name out there. They've kind of got like a. I don't even think it's solid because I think it's just kind of.
he was within the team and he was the assistant head coach. They were just kind of like, well, I guess you'll do for the. I think this could be they don't have someone right now, and then that the coach is not available right now, so they have Doug Marone in as the year or something.
Maybe they're waiting for Jim Harbaugh to be available.
Maybe they are. But I mean, I think for the Jags overall, like the getting Tom Coughlin is a huge boost for them. However, this Doug Marone's hire, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to turn around the team because I mean the team has talent. It just needs someone to get it out of them really.
Yeah, definitely, and I think as well that the Jags are putting together a kind of administration here that could be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're also, I like the way they've given themselves a lot of leeway that they don't have to tear everything up if it doesn't go right next season. That they can probably get rid of Marone and get Tom Coughlin to bring in his own guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is happening there. And if I was Marone, I'd be a bit skeptical because I mean, obviously saying he's been a head coach there before at the Buffalo Bills, and then before that at Syracuse. But I mean, like, so he has a fair bit of experience as well. So it's not bad like signing say for a couple of years for the Jags. But yeah, it's definitely not like a bigger name who people expected. I guess. Yeah. So who should you want to move on to next? Do you want to go on to the Broncos or the Bills? Two of your favorite teams.
Let's go for the Broncos first.
All right, so the Broncos brought in Vance Joseph this offseason. Obviously, what was the name of their coach beforehand?
Gary Kubiak.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak had to step down because of medical reasons. So this is Miami's defensive coordinator. Also a new head coach who's never been a head coach before. And all he's done is what he's done is that he's been the defensive backs coach for a number of different teams, and finally stepped up to the plate for defensive coordinator in the Dolphins. And the Dolphins defense, I mean the defense that is on paper looks very good.
Yeah,
like I like it a lot, but it really hasn't come up to what it should have been. It's not the big defense which people thought it was. Like, imagine having Ndamukong Suh, Cameron Wake, and Mario Williams in your defensive line. Like, how are you not getting like more pressure and everything else? And it's kind of a young secondary as well. They've got their.
I think it's more that he built up a really good young secondary in Miami. I was quite impressed by them. and I thought he did a really good job. I think one of the reasons he may have got the job as well is he used to be he was a defensive coach in Houston when Gary Kubiak was there. So there may have been that kind of connection that the Broncos may have thinking, all right, let's bring in a guy who knows Gary Kubiak's like defensive system. He's also worked with the former defensive coordinator Wade Phillips, and it kind of allows the Broncos to not tear everything up, but keep it in that same system that was working and won them a Super Bowl, and just maybe reinvigorate the team a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think this is still a team who potentially could make the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender as such because still seeing that quarterback situation, and their offense has been a bit static this year. Their defense obviously still stellar and still very good. So I think he'll for Vance Joseph. I think this is a really good team to inherit, and definitely the best team to inherit as a head coach for a couple of years now. Obviously, like they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so you're doing well if you're getting that job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's done himself well. That it's a good kind of a head coaching gig to get first time round. That a lot of pieces are already in place. I think what he's going to have to sort out, the big thing he's going to have to sort out, one is going to be the quarterback situation. Who's going to be starting, Trevor Siemian or Paxton Lynch, or does he bring in Tony Romo? And then also the offensive line that needs a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mike McCoy, the ex-Chargers head coach, is now the Broncos offensive coordinator. So interesting to see how he fares as in the offense there, because that's the biggest issue is the offense there. They have a very good defense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to get onto this Bills one because, well, it is the ex defense coordinator Sean McDermott of the Carolina Panthers, and I think this is one of the more expected kind of expected signings because Sean McDermott's been running a very good defense in Carolina. I mean, take our last year when we were pretty average, but before that, I mean, getting us to the Super Bowl. It's the way it works for the Bills. Obviously, defensive coach beforehand in Buffalo in Rex Ryan. And I think McDermott will be able to consolidate the defense, which is really what the Buffalo strength is here. But it's not really
definitely
that much of a rebuilding project though. I don't feel like it'll be interesting to see what happens with Tyrod Taylor and what they're going to do as quarterback for next year, because I'm not really sure they have a plan yet.
I think as well, and I think they don't know what they want to do, because if they keep Tyrod Taylor, they have to pay him, and I think they don't want to pay him because they're not really sure like what his upside is yet, whether he's a franchise quarterback, whether he's not. But I think when he was fit, and when Sammy Watkins was fit, and when LaShawn McCoy was fit, I think they showed a lot of potential on offense, and they were exciting to watch. But I think Sean McDermott, I think he'll be a good head coach. I think he's one of those coordinators that suffers because of the system works, that you can't be hired by another team as a head coach until you finished your season. So if you go to the Super Bowl, like Kyle Shanahan, you're not officially the head coach until you finish. So you can't kind of go out and hire coordinators. So I think he suffered last season where he could have gone out there and got a head coaching job when he was with the Panthers, but because of the Panthers making the Super Bowl, you miss out on that. It happens to a lot of coordinators who make the Super Bowl. You have your best season ever, and then you don't actually get a head coaching job because none of the teams want to hire you because they can't be asked to wait around.
Or even if you do get the head coaching job, all the best new coordinators and defensive and offensive coordinators you could maybe sign along with you. A lot of them will be taken away because new head coaches who have had way more time than you have already put in the calls and built their team. Build their front office effectively.
Yeah, I mean, do Do you think it's a system that they should keep using? Do you think it works, or do you think they should change it and allow them
Uh,
to
I don't know. It seems
coaches?
that for obviously Rex Ryan had his own form of defense, and like he made them play towards him. Um, Whereas I was like in Carolina, like um, there was kind of like the emphasis on the front seven, which really works really well with the Bills because the Bills already have a pretty decent stacked front seven on defense, so it could work quite well. I think he'll just play to the strengths of the players rather than do Rex Ryan and make them play for him and play to his
Yeah,
style. Because we saw like how the handling of like Mario Williams, like we said, because like he like very like great player, but with Rex Ryan he didn't fit him, and he was just like, no, I don't want you. Whereas I think if it was like Sean McDermott was there, I think he would have been like, I can get the best out of you. Just let me coordinate something which you can play your game in.
yeah. I think as well. He seems like a level-headed guy who would be needed in Buffalo right now because the ownership and the general manager situation seems so like hectic and
Hmm.
confusing that if you have having Rex Ryan just kind of makes it worse. So having a level-headed head coach should hopefully calm the situation down. I think, yeah, I mean, interesting. I was reading that apparently that one of the plans might be to not have Tyrod Taylor next year and get Deshaun Watson in the draft, which would be quite cool.
That could be interesting. I mean, they don't have to trade up for him, probably. I mean,
I think, I mean, they're
I think Tyrod Taylor. I don't. I'm not really sure, as well. Like, I think maybe keep him on, but have like a 1 year deal, which would be like or like a 2 year deal. Like, don't sign something big, but see if he wants to stay in Buffalo, then because be like, here you're gonna have the starting quarterback role, but you've only got you're like, well, we'll give you like 2 years to like prove yourself, and then that could be it. I mean, it all depends. Like, all I feel like I'm going to mention this over and over again with these things. For all the head coaching jobs, like they all kind of need time to implement their own system and do all this. Whereas, and like
yeah,
right now in the NFL, it's just not that type of system. And not, well,
yeah,
it's just it's not very forgiving right now. Uh,
yeah. I think he wanted time, but I think I don't know. I think I think I would like I would prefer it if they kept Tyrod Taylor because I think he's kind of been mistreated a bit, and they're thinking more about the money, less about him as a player. Because I think he is a talented player, and I think he has gone out and proven himself worthy of getting that big contract.
mhm.
But we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, there's only speculation we can do, but um, I mean, like, who else would they pick up? And like, if they didn't get Tyrod Taylor, they have to get a draft because there's. I mean, unless they trade for someone, they have a lot of quarterbacks open right now.
I don't think they're getting Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think the Patriots would trade within the division.
Hmm. I think Tony Romo might work in Buffalo,
Yeah, Jay Cutler.
but he's Jay Cutler. It could be, yeah, Jay Cutler. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks who are maybe could be looking for new jobs. I'm gonna have to wait till when free agency rolls around to really get a better picture of what's going on here,
Mm.
though. Right, who have we got? We only got another two left, don't we?
Yeah.
So who do you want to go into first, the Chargers or the Rams?
Um, well, both teams in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Let's go with the one who I think is gonna have a better season next year. So the Chargers.
Oh, you think Chargers have a better season than Rams?
Well, the Chargers have got a quarterback and a lot of other talented players, and the Rams have got Jared Goff.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, in fact, Jared Goff maybe isn't the best, but oh, anyway, we should go into the Chargers. So they hired Anthony Lynn, who was the former interim head coach of the Buffalo Bills when Rex Ryan got fired. Before that, he was the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator and running backs coach there for the Bills. And throughout his time as a coach in the NFL, he has been mostly a running backs coach, which is obviously really good for the young running backs coming through in no, not San Diego, in Los Angeles now for the Chargers. Obviously, Melvin Gordon. This will be a very good. I mean, very good thing for him because obviously he has the entire experience of teaching all the coaching all these players, and Melvin Gordon only kind of broke out last season, so it'll be interesting to see how he does under Lynn's leadership, I guess. But
Yeah,
for the Chargers, it's going to be a difficult one. They're probably the worst team in their division, and getting back to maybe challenging is going to be a tough one. And that this is a team in like transition as well, because they're still kind of clinging on to the last bit of Phillip Rivers, whereas also trying to have a new identity in Los Angeles. But
I think they could build that identity around having a good pass rush and a good defense because they've got Joey Bosa, they've got Ingram there as well, and they've got Casey Hayward had a really good season as well. So I think maybe they could maybe make the new identity of this team kind of being a strong defensive-minded team.
it could be. They're gonna. Did they get Gus Bradley in the end? They did, didn't they? As
Let me check.
defensive coordinator. Current staff. Let me see. Defense coordinator Gus Bradley. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, they got him from and they kept Ken Wisenhunt as a offensive coordinator. And he's got two ex head coaches, in Kyle Shanahan and Ken Wisenhunt there, as his defensive and offensive coordinators. So this kind of a nice way because he can ask them for advice and everything on, because obviously they've been through it before. Maybe not the best advice because obviously they're no longer a head coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough one, this Chargers gig, I think, because yeah, they do have a defense they could maybe build something around in the future, but their offense is going to be an issue in a couple of years whenever Phillip Rivers retires, and they're either going to need to get themselves bring themselves in someone new, maybe draft someone this year or something. But there are a lot of holes on this roster, which is unfortunate for the Chargers because they're kind of not that far away from. They have the pieces now to win, but they also they're lacking in a lot of things. I also thought that the fire in them at the end of the season was kind of like over. You know, like how you're not going to make the playoffs, so you just kind of like just drop off.
Yeah.
It just seems to be the case with some teams, and especially the Chargers. And then like in a team in the division where like all three of the other ones had potential to make the playoffs, it wasn't great for the Chargers.
I think also for San Diego, they had also kind of on their mind the whole time is where they were going to be next season. Would they still be in San Diego? Would they be in LA? And I think that was kind of playing on the team a bit.
Yeah, I think this new move for the Chargers could be quite interesting for them, and it's obviously to see how they deal with it, because it's not easy. Like there's the first they're still waiting on to be the first NFL team to have a winning season in Los Angeles. So it's an ask, but the Chargers, I think they could have more with them than with the Rams, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the Rams got. Well, we can move on to the Rams.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get on to the Rams. Obviously, they hired Sean McVay, and is the youngest head coach in NFL history. He doesn't turn 31 until I think later on this month. So there we go. He's only a good. Well, he's only like 10 years older than me, and he's head coaching for a team.
Yeah, that kind of I don't know. Is that depressing or good?
I don't know. Well, I mean, kind of depressing because I'm not going to be head coaching a team in 10 years. But
oh, don't be so hard on yourself.
Anyway, so a little bit of background on him. So he was the offensive coordinator for the Redskins the past 2 years. So obviously he's kind of led that explosion with Kirk Cousins and build that offense around Kirk Cousins and like a lot of like Jordan Reed and a lot of weapons to play with there. But I don't think he has much weapons to play with the Rams right now on offense. Obviously he's got Todd Gurley, so that could be a huge thing that he might go for, which I think is the way forward for this franchise. Because
Tavon Austin.
He's so bad. He's so bad. He hasn't lived up to the hype as what he's meant to be, because
He's so good because he's the best out of a really terrible bunch, so he just looks good.
I think Kenny Britt's all right. It's unfortunate for him that he got injured at the end of last season because he was on form for like doing pretty well. But Yeah, this is a one where they need time. This franchise, the defense is good, the offense is in a state though.
Mm.
Obviously, with Jared Goff there, they've lost a couple picks, so they're gonna need to hopefully
They're
get
going to need
something
to work out.
out of him this year.
Yeah,
And I think
they're
that's
definitely
why
going to
that's
work out.
why Sean McVay's been brought in because look what he did to Kirk Cousins. If he can do the same to Jared Goff, then there you go.
Mm. Yeah, they bring Jared Goff as we haven't seen much from his rookie season. I know he didn't play much, but he hasn't given us much reason to believe that he's got a massive upside, and that he's gonna be this great franchise quarterback. I think he could be a franchise quarterback, but I think at the moment the comparison I would make and kind of the level of his career that I think he'd probably reach from the skills that we've seen would be maybe an Andy Dalton or
Hmm.
kind
Hmm.
of that kind of level. Like he could be a mid-level, like decent quarterback. Which, if you've gone to number one overall to pick him, I feel like that's a bit of a waste of a pick.
Yeah, interesting on that one. But this is definitely more of a project than I think lots of the other ones are right now. Oh, I think
Yeah,
that for the Rams, it's tough. Their division is a tough one as well, and really for the Rams, just of the Seahawks are pretty set with their ways right now. They're obviously going to be around for a while. The 49ers, I mean, they can hopefully get some wins there because that's another project going on. And the Cardinals are a very strong team, but they're in decline. Well, Carson Palmer is. If they don't get another quarterback in, then this could be, then it could be bad for them. So for uh, for Sean McVay and the Rams offense, like he needs time with it because obviously he needs to bring out Jared Goff, and hoping to see that this year. If we see Jared Goff have a better year, then that could give him a couple more years on after that as well. Because I think that's what he really needs. Is obviously remember this guy's 31. He's a really young head coach, and this is the first one he's doing. It's a tough gig, I think, for him. Rather than loads of the other ones, like obviously the Broncos one, you can just move in and just like carry on with that team. Whereas here, I think you need a little bit of a rejig on that offense. You need to bring in some weapons to be thrown to because right now their wide receiver core isn't that great.
yeah, they've got quite a poor offense. I think they need to sort an offensive line out because Todd Gurley was seriously hindered last season
Hmm.
when he didn't have a decent offensive line. He I think that wasn't because of him. I think he still showed kind of elements of talent, but he just couldn't find any running space. And I think if they can get Todd Gurley going, it can ease the pressure off Jared Goff and then maybe allow him to develop slightly better.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely the case. Right, so I think that is all for the head coaches. Do you want to talk about any of the other hirings and firings, or are you good for leaving this here for this week?
Uh, yeah, I'm good for leaving this. I feel
All
like this
right,
is a nat.
all right, we'll do that. All right, guys. We'll have a talk after the podcast about what we're going to do next week, and we'll get out to you. Obviously, it's gonna be a great one. But until then, we'll catch you guys later. See ya.